What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Life's a Garden. I first want to thank everybody out there who tuned in to the 200th episode. It was a great time with my family and a perfect way to commemorate 200 episodes. Very special to have my family on there. I couldn't have asked for anybody else to celebrate a milestone achievement here on the show. And finally broke the guest slump that we were on. And of course, here I am backing it up with yet another solo episode. But how do you top that, really? How could I possibly ask another guest to come on and try and follow up that great episode? And if you haven't seen it, please go back and listen to it. It's such a good one, and I really truly enjoyed doing that. At the same time, if you wouldn't mind, subscribe, follow on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. It just helps grow this garden because we are on to the next 100. The road to 300 starts now. And let's kick it off with a positive, motivational message of the week. And this week, I'm going to tell you to stop causing issues in your life that don't need to be there. At times, we can put stress on ourselves. We can feel sorry for ourselves. We can put unnecessary pressure and just make issues for ourselves that don't need to be there, that are just in our heads. Life does a good enough job of giving us issues and giving us problems. We don't need to add to that where it doesn't need to be. For instance, in my own life, I find, I've been very open and candid about over a year ago, I came into some money. And in my head, that's always been my whole point in having money, is to just relieve the stress of finances, to relieve financial stress, to be able to breathe comfortably where it's like, if something goes wrong, I'm covered. I can spend some money. I can splurge. I don't have to look at the menu and look at the price. I can just choose what I want to eat. I can buy my friends drinks. I can just enjoy life without financial stress. And yet, recently, I found myself burdening myself with unnecessary financial stress. Like thinking I need to, really cut back on the spending as if I was spending a crazy amount of money. I'm not. Thinking that I have to not do fun things or do vacations, or I gotta work more, I gotta work hard. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad mindset to be in. However, it's unnecessary stress that I'm putting on myself that I don't need to do. It's understandable if I was in financial straits, but I'm not. So that's just a random example that I can give to you from my life. However, there's other situations that we just end up putting unnecessary pressure on ourselves, stress on ourselves. We feel sorry for ourselves at times. Life does a good enough job of that for us. Don't do it to yourself. Relieve that stress that you're putting on yourself. There's no need for it. And with that, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. It's episode 201 of Life's a Garden. All right. Kicking off 201 with a solo episode. Thank you guys for joining me again. And as you can see, we're back in the softball season. I finally got myself my softball jersey for my company softball team. Now, normally when I wear jerseys on the show, it's other people's jerseys. Now, this is my jersey. Got the number 3 right there, my lucky number. Name's on the back. Softball season has started. And let me tell you something. If anything else has proven to me, that I am just a complete out of shape piece of shit, it was these last 2 softball games, okay? I haven't ran that much since trying to catch my flight in Denver. And that was a piece of cake, let's be honest. I mean, this one, so the first game we played, it was that really super windy day, like hurricane level winds. Not quite that bad. They got me an outfield. The wind is blowing directly in my face, which means you would imagine most of the balls would end up carrying towards my direction. Thankfully, they didn't. Nonetheless, I'm having to run in and out of the outfield. I'm not an outfielder. Normally, they have me at catcher. That's usually where I'm at because I am, in fact, an unathletic, out of shape piece of shit. So it just works out better for me to be at the catcher position. And in softball, catcher is not nearly as difficult as in regular baseball. But you know, I'm not really a great hitter either. Game 2 we played, I was catching them. I made contact every time. Got on base twice, and I got home once. Let me tell you something. When I busted that one home, and it wasn't a home run, don't get me wrong, I'm not hitting dingers out here, but I am getting them in the midfield. I'm getting on base. Not too shabby. One dude rips one to outfield, and I'm on first. I cut it all the way home, and I'm just trucking it. I get back to the dugout, gassed, sucking air. And the next day, after both those games, bro, my legs burning. The first one, my groin. I thought I pulled my groin. So if anything else has taught me, has been a slap in the face, a big old wake up call, that it's time to get back in shape. Which doing the softball, I mean that's just one extra thing of exercise. So that's good. It's a positive. I got to get back in that gym. I got to get back in the gym. I got to start running some more, get that cardio up. And let me tell you, it makes you feel better. Like, it really does. I've always said this, and I know this, and of course I just ignore my own advice when it comes to working out. I went to band practice right after that, and I felt great. You know, got the lungs pumping, got the blood flowing, and it felt like I sang probably better than I normally would on a band practice. So the exercise is great. We're out here, we're softballing, baby. Got them soft balls. And hard dicks and softballs, all good. I was going to make a batting joke, something to stick in it. I don't know. Anyway, it's a good time. We're enjoying it. The weather's been nice, besides that one game where it's, you know, it was all windy. But the weather is starting to get real nice. I love that we're actually experiencing a spring. Normally, in the beautiful state of Montana, we go from winter, about 2 weeks of spring, and then it's 100-degree summer. But it seems like we're kind of just getting that extended spring, an actual springtime, which is my favorite. I like when it's 70 degrees and sunny. When it's 68 and there's a slight breeze. That's the weather I enjoy. Freaking starting to get my lawn. I seeded the lawn last year. I had my lawn looking absolutely spectacular. And then just completely neglected it. Stopped watering it. Didn't fertilize it. And then I left for Ireland for a week. In the middle of August. Well, it was the end of July, beginning of August. So it's the hottest time of the year. And it completely burned out my whole yard. Fried it up. And now I have to start over. Last year, I started late. I don't think I started doing that till like June. Got that shit going early this year. We've had lots of rain. And it's starting to bloom back up, baby. I'm a real Hank Hill. I'm Hank Hilling it. I fucked it up last year. I was doing good. And now I'm sticking to it. We're going to get that yard going. I'm going to act like an actual goddamn homeowner. Right? Doing good. Now, with the nice weather, springtime, comes another season here in the state of Montana. Road construction season. We only just began on this fucking road construction season. And already, I'm ready to put a goddamn bullet in my mouth. This stupid road construction shit they got going up here on Broadwater, while it's only 2 blocks worth of road work, it's right on my block. Like, that's the street I try and go down to get home. It's the street I use to go gas up vehicles at my job. It's making things very difficult for me. And also, when it congests, when people, like, that is a absolute nightmare. With just 2 lanes for 2 blocks on Broadwater, bro, that is a problem. They did not think that through. And it seems to be a fucking huge project that they need to knock that shit off. Starting to piss me off. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I say life gives you problems as it is. That's out of my control. I can't control that. That's a problem I gotta fucking deal with. So the last thing I need to do is make myself any more problems. This is the shit I gotta deal with in life. You know, you gotta deal with bad weather sometimes. And then, but I don't know. What are you gonna do? You're gonna cause the rain to pour on yourself? No. We just deal with what we can, and we don't cause any extra weight to be on our shoulders. You know what I'm saying? Unless we're working out. That's when we can put extra weight on our shoulders. We gotta be doing them press, baby. Oh, that was the other thing with the softball. Bro, my shoulder was so fucked up after the first game, just from throwing the ball. And it's not like I threw it a ton, but just from the throwing from the outfield and then just the practice warm-up throws, my shoulder was fucked up for at least 5 days. And I stretch. I'm not a dummy. I know how to stretch. Apparently didn't work that well. So, moving forward, I got to get my shit locked in, dialed in. Let's see. Also, I guess speaking of weather and weather-esque activities, natural activities that have gone on recently, we had a very vibrant aurora borealis here in Montana, here in the Billings area. All of the upper northwest got a pretty decent view of the aurora borealis, and it flooded the Facebook pages and the Instagrams as normally. As any it's the eclipse all over again. We had the eclipse, everybody sharing their eclipse pictures and shit. And now the whole thing is just aurora borealis. Did I go look at it? No, I didn't. Do I kind of regret it? A little bit. Because I've actually never seen an aurora in person. And it is a very awesome, beautiful, natural phenomena that happens. What is it? It's like space. It's like radioactivity or solar activity from the sun that gets into our atmosphere, something like that, and it causes those colors. Very interesting. Very cool. And it very rarely dips this low into... because they're the northern lights, right? So it usually only ever happens at the northern end of the globe. And rarely does it come down this low. So do I somewhat regret it? Yes. Regret not seeing it? Yeah, a little bit. But I saw all of it all over Facebook. Everybody was posting about it. Now, does that, obviously it's different to see something like that in person. But I'm not as fascinated by the natural world as some people. Aurora borealis, if you ask me. I'm just kidding. Like I said, I actually would have probably enjoyed to see it. Clearly not enough for me to have done it, or I would have. But it would have been cool. And honestly, I think what it was is I just didn't realize it was happening. And then there was 2 full days of it. So the next night, it was happening again. And I was just like, meh. The first day I missed it because I just didn't realize that there was a thing going on that night. And I was just like, oh man, that's cool that happened. Kind of sucks I missed it. Next day, hey, you got a second chance to see it. It's happening again tonight. And I'm laying in bed just like, meh. let's see what's going on. Let's watch a episode of King of the Hill for the 1400th time. You know, let's watch the same episode of King of the Hill instead that I've seen 34 times before, and not go look at a natural beauty. That's pretty much where my brain was that day. Mostly because I've just been so goddamn tired. And it's to my own fault, really. I mean, I've been going out a lot. I've been staying out late, doing the same old bullshit that I said I needed to stop doing. It's hard when there's sports on, though. I like going out and watching sports. That's my thing. That's what I enjoy. And what can you do? You know what I mean? Okay. Real quick. Speaking about causing yourself issues and putting unnecessary stress into your life and unnecessary problems, causing yourself unnecessary problems. I just this morning watched a video about a guy that was cave diving, doing some kind of cave exploration. You know, these guys, they do the spelunking, or they do these cave dives, or the worst are the ones of these guys and gals that are like crawling in these narrow caverns, and they're like, oh, I might get stuck on this one, and then they just squeeze through barely. There was one of these guys who was crawling through, and like they're somewhere around water, I guess, and like the tide is coming in, and he's like, I got to get out of here or I'm going to drown. Bro, do you know how fucking stressed that makes me just watching that? These guys are putting themselves in crazy scenarios. They don't have to. You don't have to do that. Whatever thrill they get out of it, I don't have it. I get stressed out just watching that shit. And they're doing it. But the one I'm referencing, actually, is this guy was crawling through this cave and ended up going into, like, the cave kind of went like this, and then it dips down and abruptly stops. So there's no exit. The guy can't get out, and the way... Isn't it so weird that you can get yourself into certain situations, but just the way the body works, you can't go the other way? You know what I'm saying? So this guy gets stuck in this downward position because he crawled up and then it goes down and it stops. So his knees are locked up where he can't get back out. He can't like push himself out because his knees aren't going to bend the opposite direction for him to be able to, if he was inverted, if he had turned the other way, where his legs could actually come up and out, and then you can kind of stretch your spine a little bit, he probably could have maybe had a chance. But because he went face down, you can't just like bend your knees that way to push yourself out. So he's literally stuck like this. I'm not sure how they knew that was the case. Maybe he had a radio, maybe, I don't know what the communication was to the outside, if there was one. I believe there was a rescue mission to try and retrieve him, but by the time they were able to get to him, he was already dead. He died like that because I'm sure, first of all, you're upside down basically, so the blood's rushing to your head. And then, obviously you're dealing with starvation issues and dehydration and stuff like that. And bro, I've never been in a situation where I felt claustrophobic, as far as like, I've never been trapped in a room or like trapped in a closet, or I've never like been confined to a small space. I think the most claustrophobic I've ever maybe felt was like in a crowd of people where I'm just like, getting pressed up. But even then, I didn't feel that claustrophobic. I 100% have claustrophobia. There's no way I don't. You ever heard of the movie fucking, what's it called? Buried Alive, I think is what it's called. It's either called Buried or Buried Alive. It's about, it stars Ryan Reynolds as a guy who gets basically buried in a coffin, alive. Some like drug deal gone wrong, or there was something like it's the mafia or somebody buries this guy, and he's got a cell phone and so much oxygen. It's the whole movie is just him in this coffin basically, and the search to find him. I can't do that shit. The idea of being trapped in a confined space and then that confined space being trapped under dirt? Get the fuck out of here. Like, go fuck yourself. I don't like the idea of being trapped, I think the thought of being trapped underground really fucking scares me, because the odds of being found or being escaping is just almost zero, right? So the thought of this dude in this cave, just think about those last moments, right? It's clearly dark, unless clearly he probably had to have a flashlight, right? But there's just dirt around you. There's rock and dirt, and you're just like stuck, and you know you can't get out. Like, the only form of escape is if somebody digs down and retrieves your body. Think about those kids that get caught in wells. Bro, there was a video. And the well shit, you don't have a flashlight. You're just, because it's an accident. I saw a video of this fucking kid who was trapped in this, I guess it was technically a well, but it was just like a pipe. Way the fuck down there. Clearly an accident. I think he was straight up and down. Thank God. But could you imagine? Bro, the hair on the back of my fucking neck is standing up right now just thinking about it. Can you imagine just being stuck in a tube? First of all, you know what's worse? So, I'd rather be stuck like this with my arms up. Could you imagine being stuck with your arms at your side? Where you can't even, like, move that? I'm about to throw up just thinking about it. That's how stressed out it gets me. That's how high anxiety that shit is. But luckily, I believe that kid was saved. Just the thought of it, though. The darkness. The desperation. The panic that you would go through. And then the dude that was trapped in that fucking cave, they decided that it would have been too difficult to get him out or something like that. So they just buried him in that fucking cave. They just imploded the fucking entrance or something like that. Or they just filled the entrance the tunnel with like concrete or something like that. And just buried him down there like that. So, bro, the whole moral of the story here, the whole moral of me saying any of this is, don't fucking cave dive. Hey, idiots. Don't fucking spelunk. Don't add extra stress to your life. I know these guys are all thrill seekers and they get some kind of joy out of this. But you know who doesn't get joy out of this? Me. I don't enjoy knowing that you're doing that. I don't enjoy thinking that that's even a possibility. That it's even possible to get stuck in a well or stuck in a fucking cave, an abandoned mine shaft. None of that appeals to me. So for them to go out and do that is adding stress on my life, just knowing that that is even possible to happen. I don't like it. So stop doing it. Don't be dumb. Don't fucking... Dude, the people who free climb, that shit doesn't stress me out at all. If you want to be a thrill seeker, go do that shit. The free climbers, the people who climb up buildings, like, yeah, I do have a little bit of fear of heights, but at least it's open. There's air to breathe. Being trapped like this in a crowded space and you're just crawling and you don't know what the fuck is ahead of you, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. I ain't doing it. That's not happening, bro. So anyway, yeah, don't add extra stress on your life. And one way for me to not add extra stress to my life is not thinking about it or talking about it like I did for the last 8 minutes just now. So there you go. All right. We got to talk about this Tom Brady roast. So, the roast of Tom Brady, the number one trending thing on Netflix over the last couple of weeks. I watched it in its entirety, thought it was hilarious, thoroughly enjoyed it. Let's break it down a little bit here. So, first and foremost, I'm not a huge roast fan. I enjoy it, don't get me wrong. Obviously, I watched the whole thing. I'm also very adverse to cringe-inducing things. Like, I enjoy the show Impractical Jokers, one of my favorite shows of all time. There's so many cringy moments in that show that make me just like, oh, God, I can't believe he said that to that person. I can't believe he did that to that person. And that's kind of what roasts are. I think because I have such empathy and too much social awareness to I put myself in the other person's shoes and the uncomfortableness that they're probably feeling. I feel their uncomfort. Their uncomfort. I feel it when it happens to somebody. So it's hard for me. I could never really do that to somebody. I'd have a hard time roasting somebody, or I'd have a hard time. I mean, I could probably roast somebody, but when it gets too personal, or when it gets dark, and you can just feel the tension, ooh, that shit gets to me. And there was a few of those moments in this roast. Shout out to all the professional comedians. Every single one of them nailed it. Tony Hinchcliffe, one of the greatest roasters of all time. I think Jeff Ross might have had one of my favorite jokes of the night, which was, I just came back from hell and Aaron Hernandez says hello. That was a tension builder. And then he said, I had to dress up like OJ because I'm about to kill this white bitch, to Tom Brady. That was a great one. And how timely after OJ. Jeff Ross, an amazing roaster. Nikki Glazer stole the night. I've seen her do roasts on Comedy Central before, and she crushes it every time. She killed this one. Who else? Fucking Andrew Schultz was incredible. All the professionals killed. Now, the thing with roasts is, the professionals are going to do well. 9 times out of 10, they stick the landing. When you add the friends or the non-comedians to the table, that's where things can get a little dicey. Now, I'll say this as well. Kevin Hart did a great job as a host. There's something about Kevin Hart's comedy that just doesn't register to me. It's semi-annoying to me. I don't like when comedians keep repeating a joke all over and over again and expecting the same result. I don't like when comedians say a joke and then they go, what? What? What'd I say? Come on. I mean, what? I'm like, okay, it's one thing to be like, what? To do it once, but to continue to be like, what? Come on. What? What are we talking about here? Come on. What? It's like, okay. Now, I understand live performance is tough, and I understand that comedy is very tough, and hosting an event like that is probably extremely tough. I'm not throwing any shade against Kevin Hart. He did a great job. His style of comedy just isn't for me. That's all it is. But back to the friends and this is the roast of Tom Brady. So naturally, you're going to get a lot of athletes. Most of his team, a lot of his teammates were there. A lot of his coach, what's his name? Robert Kraft, the owner, was there. And talk about tension. Talk about, cringe. The tension in the room between Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick was palpable. These are guys that won 6 championships together. And they fucking hate each other. There's bad blood there because of the way things went down with the firing and whatnot. And I'm sure the whole Tom Brady thing, the whole Brady thing was probably a huge Brady leaving, that there's tension there too. But anyway, what makes a roast good and what makes a roast stand high above as a good roast is the way the non-comedians perform. And it's always hit or miss. Now, in this particular case, I thought they hit. I thought the non-comedians crushed. Bill Belichick, bro, as dry a sense of humor as he has, as much as he's not thought of as a funny guy, fucker delivered. He did a great job. He was poised. He delivered his shit right. Drew Bledsoe deserves huge praise for his performance on that. I thought he did a great job. I thought Randy Moss was fine. I thought Julian Edelman was great. Rob Gronkowski, wasn't my favorite set. And he's a great dude. He was catching a lot of bullets during that one. He caught a lot of... It might as well have been the roast of Rob Gronkowski at this point, because he caught a ton of good jokes. And I'll give it to Tom Brady. Tom Brady did a great job on his roast. Oh, you know who was... And Kim Kardashian did one. Hey, you know what? I thought she did pretty damn good. She got booed like horrendously. She stood poised. She delivered her lines. I mean, were the jokes top tier? No. But she delivered. She didn't fuck them up. She wasn't like stumbling over her jokes and shit. She did a good job. So I'll even give some flowers to Kim Kardashian. The person who just absolutely fucking bombed on the whole night. Now keep in mind, Kim Kardashian roasted. Dana White, who's not a comedian, roasted fairly well. And even Rob Gronkowski, who might be a few brain cells short, he might be legally retarded, did better than Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck stunk the joint up so badly. His portion of the roast was so bad, I got halfway through it and had to start skipping. It was so just cringeworthy and terrible that I skipped through it. And it wasn't cringeworthy because he was saying mean things or he was saying, you know, he was like really digging in on somebody and had bad jokes. Well, he had really bad jokes. It was literally because his performance, his delivery, and his jokes were just so bad. So bad. And they were so bad, apparently he was supposed to stay on the stage. He knew he bombed, so he left. That's how bad it was. Why the fuck Ben Affleck was there in the first place is beyond me. He's a Boston guy, I guess. Bro, you're a professional actor. You can't read a fucking teleprompter? He was so unbelievable in his performance because he was trying to do like a bit. He was trying to do a skit almost. So unbelievable that it was laughable. Like, that was the funniest part of the thing, was him trying to perform this character or perform that he was so angry or whatever. That was the worst part of the night. But overall, it was great. Now, in the aftermath, Tom Brady has come out and said that he regrets doing it. He would never do it again because of the effect it had on his children. Namely because there was so many Giselle jokes. The amount of jokes that were about Tom Brady and his divorce, those were pretty tough. They were digging in deep on him. The Aaron Hernandez jokes and the Giselle jokes were the ones that really made you go, ooh. Now, Aaron Hernandez is a total piece of shit. I don't feel bad for him at all in them making fun of him. The thing that made me cringe when they did the Aaron Hernandez jokes were that his teammates were right there. Now, they should know as well that he was an absolute piece of shit. Nonetheless, these are people that played with him, that knew him personally, and to joke about a guy committing suicide is kind of fucked up. Does it make me change the way I feel about it? Absolutely not. Again, the guy's a total piece of shit. Deserves all the fucking smoke that can go his way. Now, the Giselle thing, however, you're talking about Tom Brady, the mother of Tom Brady's children, the woman that he was in love with, his ex-wife. That's a tough thing that people have to deal with, right? Granted, they are a public couple, and when things go sideways, naturally, people are going to comment and make fun of it. They're either going to make fun of it, they're going to comment on it. It's public knowledge. And with a guy like Tom Brady, who has achieved all the success in the world, made so much money, he's a handsome-looking dude, like the greatest football player, the greatest quarterback of all time. There's not a whole lot to make fun of. And so with his situation, you gotta make jokes about the one flaw, one of the few flaws, one of the few mistakes, and one of the few blemishes in his life. That's where you're gonna dig in. And so Tom Brady comes out and is like, it was fun but I don't think I'd ever do it again. It had a real effect on my family. What the fuck did you think they were gonna joke about? What'd you think they were? Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time, right? Look at this guy over here. What an idiot. What an idiot, this guy winning 7 rings. How could that even, man, how are you going to make fun of this guy otherwise? The one joke that they tried to make about Robert Kraft getting a massage, he got pissed off about. The two rules that he made for the comedians to not make fun of were Robert Kraft and his kids. Now, that's understandable. Going at the kids, that can be tough. Because there's a whole thing about Tom Brady kissing his kids on the lips, which is very weird. And that's the only other thing that you can make fun of. And he said no to that. So, what else can you make fun of, right? Can't. And Giselle's a public figure too. So, those were some of the best jokes. Those were some of the funniest jokes. Were they cringeworthy? Absolutely. But they were hilarious. And even he made jokes about it. And I can get why that might upset your kids. Joking about their mom who you got divorced from. But man, come on. Have a sense of humor. That's the whole point. That's the whole deal there. And so, that was the Tom Brady roast. It was good. I wish Tom Brady, as great as he is, wouldn't be such a little bitch about it in the aftermath. He probably made so much money on that. He was a producer on the thing. It was well produced. It was well done. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I thought it was funny. I thought it was good. It's pretty long. That's the one thing I would say against it. It's pretty long. And yeah, kudos to and that's the other point I wanted to make actually was everybody else had a thing that they could joke about with them. They could joke that Randy Moss never won any rings. They could joke that Drew Bledsoe was replaced by Tom Brady. They can joke that Bill Belichick got fired. They can joke that Gronkowski's a retard. They can joke that Julian Edelman's a little gay boy. He's not actually gay, but he's kind of just like a little twink. And those were the jokes. Those were the main points on each of these guys. And Tom, your thing was you got divorced. And really, is there not? There's definitely worse things. You could be Aaron Hernandez. That's pretty worse. I thought Gronk caught the most heat on the night. He caught the most heat. Tom caught the second most heat. And Bill Belichick was catching heat, and he was laughing about it. One of my favorites was when Julian Edelman is making a joke about Tom Brady, about Bill Belichick sucking Tom Brady's dick or something like that. And Bill Belichick literally just goes, next joke. Go to the next joke. This is terrible. Or was it Gronk? It might have been Gronk, actually. Yeah, it was Gronk that he did that to. It was either Edelman or Gronk. One of the two. Was making some joke about Tom Brady and Belichick and some kind of dick-sucking thing. And Belichick's like, just go to the next joke. This isn't good. I thought that was pretty good. Oh, boy. Now, sticking to sports here. As I tend to do, especially this time of year, when my Avalanche and my Nuggets are in the playoffs. Well, at least one of them is as of right now. Colorado Avalanche have been eliminated from the playoffs. Heartbreaking. They were down 3-1. Very hard to come back from. Damn near did it. Went to double overtime to try and stay alive. And of course, Matt Duchene, who used to be a Colorado Avalanche, was drafted by the Colorado Avalanche, puts the nail in the coffin and sends us home. Very sad. But you know what? Valeri Nichushkin needs to stand up and take responsibility for this shit, because he was suspended on game day for game 5, game 4, I think, which we lost. We come back and we win game 5, and then we lose in game 6. Valeri Nichushkin, who's probably our 4th biggest player on the team, he was leading the team in goals for the playoffs. I watched him score a hat trick when I was down there, and the dude gets suspended for not being able to handle his drugs and his alcohol and all that. So he got put in the player program. Now, there's 2 rules of thought here. One is addiction is a hard thing to kick, and you have to just pray for him to get better and know that addiction is a hard thing to get past. That's not the rule of thought that I have in this, okay? I understand that. I get it. Trust me. If you knew my family's history, I understand addiction. It's all mindset, right? You're on a team. The team is relying on you. So when you're out there boozing it up and doing pills and doing coke and whatever it is that you're into, you're being selfish when you're doing shit like that. When your team relies on you. When you know that your team, you're in the playoffs, motherfucker. Your team is relying on you, and you know that if you get caught doing this shit, that you're letting the team down. It's not just you, it's this whole team that you're letting down, and this entire fan base. So, to do that, I get and the same goes for people in real life. Hey, you got a family that relies on you, and you're out doing this bullshit, you're a selfish son of a bitch. You're letting down your whole family and stuff. Now, if you're just some degenerate piece of shit like me, who doesn't have a family that relies on him, now I do have a band that relies on me, so that does go into the factor of my mind. I'm not going to go out and be a stupid piece of shit and reflect poorly upon my band. I think about that shit. So that's the way I look at the Nichushkin situation. Either way, don't matter. We're fucking out of the playoffs, so it is what it is. Now, the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets. Let's talk about them, because I haven't spoken about the Minnesota Timberwolves series that we have been in. As of recording this, we are in a Game 7. By the time this comes out, Game 7 will be decided. Now, let's go ahead and recap up until now. We got our asses kicked in game 1 and 2. They played outstanding defense against us on our home court. We just didn't turn up. I can't explain to you why. We looked completely out of rhythm. We looked like we weren't playing our brand of basketball. And I said that after the first two games. I knew we had to win the next 2 games in Minnesota. That was a must-do. We had to win those in order to stay alive against this team. Minnesota Timberwolves are a good team. Number 1 defense in the league, and they have a lot of killers on offense. We go into Minnesota, we win the next 2 games. In fact, we kill them in game 3. Game 4 was pretty close, but we still ended up winning it. And then we go to game 5, back to Denver, and Jokic has an MVP performance. Huge MVP performance. Which, by the way, congratulations to Nikola Jokic on winning the MVP trophy. And on a side note, if anybody saw this, Shaquille O'Neal, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, one of the most respected, and probably one of the faces of basketball. Jokic is accepting his trophy live on TV with the crew, and Shaq comes out and says, "Hey, congratulations, big man. I don't think you deserved it. I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander deserved it." Now, what do I actually think of this? I respect Shaq's honesty, but there's a time and place. You're going to say that to a guy's face after he just won the MVP? Like, just congratulate the guy. He deserved it. And if you don't think he deserved it, why don't you tell that to the 79 people who voted for him out of 99? I mean, clearly it was unanimous. It wasn't unanimous, but it was a high majority of people thought that he deserved it. And don't get me wrong, if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would have won it, it wouldn't have hurt my feelings. I would have understood that move. But nonetheless, Jokic won it. Shaq goes on and tells him that he didn't deserve it as a fellow big man. And what does Jokic do in Game 5? He goes out and drops 40. Drops 40, and I think had 13 assists, 7 rebounds. An MVP performance for the decade. Just proving, and that was the night he received his trophy, just proving that he was in fact the MVP. And then comes Game 6. Game 6 comes around, and we look like a high school basketball team. We couldn't get any scoring going, couldn't make any of our buckets, just absolutely got murdered. We lost by 45 points. The biggest loss after... It was the biggest margin of victory a team had ever had. It was the second largest margin of victory a team had ever had facing elimination. The T-Wolves were on. They weren't playing just unbelievable defense. They were defending well. I'll say that. We just never caught a rhythm. We could never find a rhythm. And the thing that the Nuggets do that I've noticed is whenever we're down whenever we're starting to trail and the lead is getting away from us, or like the lead is expanding, we get down by like 15 points, we go into panic mode and we just start heaving up threes. Now it's nice if we can drop half of those threes, but when you're making 0 of them, the hole just gets deeper and deeper, and you're just making it harder and harder for yourself to climb out. They don't play, they just get flustered and they can't stay composed. Credit to the Minnesota Timberwolves for playing their ball. We did not play our brand of ball. And as I said, Game 7 has not happened yet. It's happening tomorrow as of the recording of this. And it will have been said and done on Monday when this comes out. I think the Denver Nuggets are going to show who they are. They're going to show up at home in Game 7. We always play well with our backs to the wall. Jokic, the way Jokic was standing there looking at that team after that Game 6 disaster that we had, he is going to come out gangbusters. Now, the thing that needs to happen, and I'll say this now, Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray need to get their fucking heads out of their asses and start playing the way that we know they can play. Whatever is going on with those guys, they're just not performing this series. Aaron Gordon has stepped up. Christian Brown has stepped up. KCP's even been playing pretty good ball. We need one of those two guys. If Jokic can play the way we know Jokic can play. If Jokic can play top tier basketball in this game, we need Murray or Porter. We need one of them to step up and play some fucking ball. And they need to play like it's the last game that they'll play this season, because guess what? It is. If you lose, you go home. If you want to win a goddamn NBA championship 2 in a row, you go out there and you play like you fucking want it. Okay? We don't know the results yet. Like, I don't know the results of now. And I pray, as you're listening to this, the Denver Nuggets are advancing to the next round of the NBA playoffs. That's what I can hope. And I'll tell you this, it's not even a hope. It's something that I just know deep down in my heart. The Denver Nuggets are going to come out and perform and defeat a tough Wolves team. A team that has proven themselves to be very worthy. But I believe in my Nuggets. I believe that they have it in them on our home floor to go in and beat a very confident and tough Wolves team. That's what I believe. So let's pray. Let us pray. Oh boy. All right. we're getting close to the end here, but I do want to talk about this. Moving off the sports topic a little bit, I do want to talk about this. These protests on the college campuses are getting absolutely out of control. Okay? There have been a trend, one might say, of protests on these college campuses, protesting, I believe it's the freedom of Palestine. Is that what it is? Free Palestine. So they're in support of Palestine, and anti-Israel, which I understand the sentiment of that. I understand why people see that and are distraught, especially when a lot of what's happening over there is being broadcast on people's TikToks. You're seeing children being, hurt. People are dying in explosions. It's absolute chaos over there. And guess what? It has been for a very long time. The whole struggle in Israel, between Gaza and Israel and the West Bank and all that shit, the struggle between Palestine and Israel, it's been going on for a long time. And yes, we are at a very heightened point of this. And I understand why people don't agree with the way Israel has handled this situation. I get why people sympathize with Palestine. And I get the opposite as well. I get why people, if you look at what happened on October 8th, is that what it was? When Hamas attacked Israel and took hostages, that's not good either. Like, that's not cool. And whatever, in the name of revolution, in the name of trying to find peace for your people. That ain't the way to do it, bro. Violence does not beget violence. That is not the way to do this, okay? So, the point I'm trying to make here, essentially, is both sides fucking suck, okay? Israel is a fucking piece of shit, the way that they've handled their stuff, and Palestine ain't too much better. They've done some pretty shitty things, too. And, let's not forget, Palestine is anti-West. And that's what we are. The Palestine does not agree with Western culture. They want to put an end to Western culture, which is what Israel is. And what the West, Europe, most of Europe, and the United States is part of. We are Western culture. They don't like that. So the idea that these kids on these college campuses are like just so hardcore about this shit. This is not new, okay? College campuses have notoriously always been very, they protested the Vietnam War. There's all kinds of shit like this. It happens a lot. So it's not new. Nonetheless, it's pretty fucking insane and out of hand at this point. They're literally blocking, they've blocked Jewish students from attending classes or stepping foot on these campuses. They've fired Jewish professors. They have they have exhibited extremely anti-Semitic rhetoric. And here's the foolishness about that. Just because somebody's Jewish doesn't mean they agree or side with Israel. Maybe they do. They have just as much a right, and in fact more of a right, to be on the side of Israel, because that's their people. You're going to side with your people, okay? They see things differently. Okay? That's their family, that's their home, whatever. That's their culture, their connection, their religion. But the bottom line is, just because somebody's Jewish doesn't mean that they're pro-Israel. So the fact that these Palestinian sympathizers just make the assumption that a Jewish person is bad because they're Jewish is exactly the fight that they're trying to go against. It's anti-Semitic, and it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's fuck, I can't even think of the word. Prejudice. It's prejudice. They're being prejudiced, which is probably what they don't stand for in the first place, right? These are the brightest minds. These are supposed to be the brightest minds in the country, right? The ones that go to college and are getting higher education and all this bullshit. And yet they're fucking so stupid as to think, oh, they're Jewish. They must be anti-Palestine. They must be pro-Israel. You can't control your fucking, what you were born into. And so they're just attacking and doing all this shit. Now, the interesting thing I saw very recently, some student infiltrated one of these groups. I can't remember what campus it was. You can look this up. Infiltrated one of the protest groups, pretended to be part of the cause and wanted to be part of the cause and all this. Within this, like, they basically made, like, what do you call it? God, I'm so bad with vocabulary. They've made like these compounds basically at these universities where pro-Palestinian groups gather and like basically just feed on each other's fucking ideals. Well, within one of these communities, one of these little like fucking complexes that they've made, it promotes violence against the West, including the United States and Israel. Promoting violence. It's teaching Marxist ideals and basically just very, very not good shit, okay? My first thought here is all this stuff seems very calculated. As in, I believe there's a very high possibility that these education institutes, these universities, have been infiltrated by anti-Western terrorists, basically, that are trying to teach these kids communistic ways, Marxist ways, anti-Western ways. And they're promoting violence, which is hilarious and totally ironic in the fact that they want to stop the violence in the Middle East, yet they are promoting violence against the West. It seems very calculated, very inside job-like that this is happening, and it's basically like they're trying to start some kind of revolution against the West, which is very much what the Middle East and Eastern philosophy would like. Shit, it wouldn't surprise me if this was being done by the Chinese or the Russians. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I get that it's about Palestine, it's about the Middle East, but it seems very anti-West, what's happening. Like, they're trying to take down the Western culture, which I'm not about because I'm a Westerner and I believe in Western culture. And it's funny too because that's how they're able to protest, is because of Western culture. You think you could go over there and protest in Gaza about whatever? No, you'd probably get, like, if you were protesting against Gaza or against the Palestinian government, or if you were protesting against fucking the Chinese government, dude, you are dead. That's how that goes. It's funny too because there's like this group that's like gays for Palestine or queers for Palestine, whatever it is. Very, very counterproductive, or it's very hypocritical, I should say. Because if they were over in Palestine, being gay, openly gay, and, you know, free speech and talking their shit and, like, say, you know, just being out and proud and gay, which here in the West is A-okay, they'd get thrown off a fucking roof if they were doing that in Palestine. And yet they're like, pro-Palestine, yay, we love Palestine. They don't fucking love you, brother. They don't love you. Yeah, and here's the other thing. So we're getting all hyped up, like, all these kids are getting hyped up over the Palestine-Israel conflict, which, again, has been going on for a very long time. These are the same people that are pro-Ukraine, it would seem. Which is funny because Palestine's ideals line up more with Russia's ideals, and you're supporting Ukraine, yet Ukraine's ideals land more in the West. That doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Idiots. Like you're getting taught all this Marxist bullshit. Guess who lives on Marxist bullshit? Russia. At the same time, where's this same energy when it comes to Yemen, when it comes to Tibet, when it comes to Taiwan? There's all kinds of countries in this world that are being oppressed by other countries, that are being attacked and tortured and enslaved by other bigger, stronger countries. That's happening all over the place. Where the fuck is the energy going for that? Why are we only focusing on this specific conflict? And also, you ain't a part of it. If you're Palestinian or you're Israeli and you live in the United States, by all means, you have all the right in the world to have an opinion and to be upset and to voice your displeasure about this. But if you're just some fucking blue-haired Western, U.S.-born fucking college student, why the fuck are you getting involved at all? Worry about your own shit. I get it. We should we should have sympathy and empathy for all these other places, for sure. And I get that the United States is involved in this in some way. They back Israel. I get that. And you know what else is funny about that? I'll say this too, just as a little side quip. All these blue-haired fucking liberal-ass college students who are so pro-Palestine and anti-West and all this shit and anti-Israel. Guess who's supporting Israel? Ya boy, Joe Biden. That's who's doing it. So welcome to the ultimate hypocrisy that is politics. Hello? You dumb. You dumb. Golly. People making problems where there don't need to be problems. And they're all just so confused. I can't believe these people's heads don't just explode with all the hypocrisy and all the counterintuitism that goes along with their thought process. Like, they support Palestine, but then they also support Ukraine. They support, or they're anti-Israel, but they're pro-Joe Biden. Like, what the fuck sense does any of that shit make? None. Stop making problems where there don't need to be any. All right? These protests are fucking ridiculous. I really want to talk about the Jerry Seinfeld thing, but I might save that for another day. Jerry Seinfeld, okay, I'll just keep it brief. Jerry Seinfeld got, a couple of students left Jerry Seinfeld, did like some kind of a commencement speech at Duke University, and a couple students left. I don't know if it's because he's Jewish or because of something he said on stage. I don't remember. Nonetheless, he brought up the fucking Bee Movie, about how there was sexual undertones in the Bee Movie, and he was like, I apologize for that if that was something you saw as a kid, but I don't take it back. Which basically means he said nothing. Said, oh, I'm sorry for those crude jokes back then, but I don't take it back. So why are you sorry for it? That you just completely canceled out what you just said. I'm sorry, but I don't take it back. Bee Movie! Who gives a... Let me tell you something about the fucking Bee Movie, okay? It was a Bee Movie. It fucking sucked. And Jerry Seinfeld loves that movie. He thinks it was like the best thing since fucking Shrek. Bee Movie fucking sucked, but I did in fact watch that movie in the theaters, which says a lot about me. Yeah, I went and watched Bee Movie in the theaters. Why? You got me. It was not a good movie at all. Very forgettable, but let me say this about Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld might be one of the most delusional narcissists in the entertainment industry. I love the guy. I think he's hilarious. I loved the show Seinfeld, but he is just like, He thinks everything he touches is gold. Seinfeld was extremely successful. It was a cultural phenomenon at that time for a sitcom. But he acts like it's the number one thing that's ever been made ever. Nobody's ever made anything better than the Seinfeld show, and it will never be done. I beg to differ. I would probably disagree with that, and I think a lot of people would probably disagree with that. It's a great show. I like it. Is it the greatest show of all time? No. He talks about the B-movie like it's the greatest children's cartoon that was ever invented ever because he wrote and voiced in it. And then it's like, no, dude, it's not even in the top 1,000 children's cartoons. Like, come on, dude. But he thinks everything he touches is gold. And now he's making a cartoon movie about Pop-Tarts. I'm sure he thinks that's going to be the most revolutionary cartoon that's ever been made. Who's going to watch it? Who's watching that? Who's enjoying that? Come on, Seinfeld. Seinfeld, one of the most delusional narcissists in the entertainment industry. All right, we're going to close it out now. Thank you so much for listening. We're on the road to 300. Thank you so very much. Like I said, go back and check out episode 200. I thought it was a great time. Stop making problems in your life that are unnecessary and that don't even exist. Just stop. Stop being a hypocritical fucking political fucking pawn. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't think that what you're doing is so righteous while you hold a cell phone that it was made by Chinese slaves. You're not self-righteous. You're selfish. And pray with me. Pray that while you're listening to this, the Denver Nuggets have defeated the Minnesota Timberwolves and are advancing to the next round of the NBA playoffs. Please, please, please let that be true. And don't forget, life's a garden. Dig it. You've got